Hey everyone, welcome back to a Handmade journal. I'm Heather and I've been sewing a lot lately, like a lot. And the more I sew, the more I've realized there are a handful of tools I just can't live without. They may not all be glamorous, but they save me time, frustration, and sometimes even my poor little fingertips. Today I'm sharing my absolute must-haves, the ones I reach for in every single project. Links to all products shared in this video are in the description below. This little ruler looks so unassuming, but I love it so much. It's heat resistant, so I can press right over it with my iron to get crisp, perfect hems. So no more eyeballing or burning my fingers trying to fold fabric evenly. I use it for everything from turning up a hem on pants or skirts to getting nice sharp folds on bias tape. It's like having a tiny perfectionist assistant in my sewing room. And speaking of ironing, this next one solves the problem of wrestling with an ironing board. And let's be real, an ironing board is just too narrow a lot of the time, especially when I need to press fabric after washing it, but before cutting it out. This ironing mat lives underneath my cutting table, and I pull it out whenever I need it. Total game changer. I can press right next to my work area, roll it up, and stash it away when I'm done. Honestly, you need this. Now, once the fabric's pressed, the next challenge is marking it, and I think I've finally found the perfect solution. I used to really struggle with fabric marking. I tried chalk pens, even disappearing ink. The chalk was hard to see most of the time, and the disappearing ink would vanish before I even finished my project. Then I discovered these pens. You can actually see the ink on fabric. I love them because they disappear with just a spritz of water. They let me mark darts, pleats, buttonholes, anything, without worrying about permanent marks. So always test on a fabric scrap first, but honestly, I've never had an issue. And here's a fun one, a totally unexpected tool from the hardware store that sneaked into my sewing room. This one's a little unconventional, but it works. I recently started wrapping painter's tape around a safety pin when feeding elastic through a channel. When I was making a couple of seam work rosa dresses recently, I had to use a tiny safety pin for those narrow channels, and it kept popping open and getting stuck. Super annoying. Wrapping just a little bit of this tape around the safety pin made all the difference. Suddenly I was feeding elastic like it was no big deal. You can also use painter's tape for straight seam guides on your sewing machine or to label fabric pattern pieces. And the best part, it peels right off without leaving any residue. Now let's talk about a tool that has probably saved me from dozens of finger stabbings. My favorite thing about this isn't just holding pins neatly, it's using the magnet to glide over my sewing space and pick up any stray needles, pens, or safety pins. I bought it after one too many finger stabbings while cleaning up. Now, the magnetic pin keeper scoops them up instantly. It's one of those, why didn't I get this sooner tools? Like, literally, I bought this last year. Honestly, the reason I don't reach for pens as much anymore is because of this next tool. So, confession time. I reach for clips way more than pens these days. They're faster to use, they don't poke holes in delicate fabrics, and best of all, they don't poke me. They're perfect for holding layers of fabric, binding, or even thick seams that would bend a pen in half or be harder to stick a pen through. I do still keep pens around for certain things, but 9 times out of 10, maybe 19 times out of 20, I go for clips. Now, all of this pressing and clipping is great, but none of it matters if you can't cut your fabric easily. I bought this when I first started using a projector to project pattern pieces onto fabric and cut them out. And the first time I sliced cleanly through layers of fabric with a rotary cutter, seriously, life changed. It makes cutting faster, cleaner, and so much easier on my hands. I use it for almost everything except teeny tiny curves. But remember, fresh blades are key. And of course, a rotary cutter is only as good as the surface you cut on, which brings me to my last must-have. This Martelli mat is big, sturdy, and the color contrast makes it so much easier to see both light and dark fabrics. It covers my table so I'm not constantly shuffling smaller mats around, And if you're serious about sewing and have the space, investing in a good cutting mat will completely change how you cut fabric. So those are my must-have sewing tools, the ones I grab for every single project. You don't need every gadget out there, but these have made my sewing life smoother, faster, and way more fun. What about you? What's your can't live without sewing tool? I'd love it if you drop it in the comments. Maybe you'll introduce me to my next obsession. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell so you don't miss what I'm sewing next. Thanks for watching and happy sewing!